Good evening and welcome into your Tennessee postgame show here on the Voice of College Football Network on the Tennessee Channel. Tucker Harlan and Jordan Binkley with you on this late Saturday evening. Hope you all are doing well. If you're new here, please like, share, and subscribe to Tennessee at the Voice of College Football. We are live every Monday night at 8 Eastern Time. And again, as you can probably tell, we are live after every game within about 24 hours or so. Depending on where the game is played. This, of course, being a road game. We are live directly after the game. So, the Vols bounce back. They get it done 56-34 in Lexington against the Wildcats of Kentucky. History repeats itself. Win number 85 for the Vols over the Wildcats. And this one was the most comfortable we've seen from Tennessee in a long time up there. I believe 10 years ago in 2015, it was 52-21. Tennessee has not won a game that comfortably since that night, which was actually, I believe, a Halloween game up there. Last time Tennessee played a Halloween game. So Vols look good tonight on one side of the ball. I'm sure we'll discuss, but it was not a perfect game for Tennessee by any means. But overall, I'd say it's a very comfortable win. Definitely a get-right game in some regards for Tennessee. Jordan, your initial thoughts on what happened in Lexington tonight?
Well, I'll start off with a positive. I mean, I'm glad that Tennessee seemed to get the ball rolling, passing the ball. I mean, because I feel like as of late they focus a little bit more on the run. So I guess their play calling this week was just to pass the ball more, and Tennessee did pretty dang well. I mean, just about as good as you can get. I mean, Joey Aguilar 4 yards shy of 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. And I'm not seeing the completion percentage, but it's got to be extremely high because he went 20 for 26 in the game. So, I mean, I would say he would have to be the star player of the game, hands down. But, yeah, I mean, you mentioned one side of the ball being much better than the other. I mean, clearly defense continues to be an issue for Tennessee.
Yeah, so up and down game in that regard. And again, man, this defense – it is frustrating at times, and I would definitely say it was frustrating tonight for Tennessee. The good news is Tennessee had a big enough lead for most of the game to where it did not matter a ton, but Cutter Boley put up once-in-a-generation numbers for a Kentucky quarterback. 5 passing touchdowns from a Kentucky quarterback is just nuts. It's something I forget when the last one it was. They said it during the broadcast at some point, but it is a program record that he put up tonight in this game. So that's definitely not something you want to be known for in this game like Tennessee was. But no, it did some good things. We'll get into that a little bit later. And you're right about Joey Aguilar. You know, going 20-26, 396, 3 touchdowns. Just felt like there were big strikes left and right in this game from Tennessee offensively. Your 3 best receivers all finished with over 100 yards. That's the first time that has happened since 2019. I forget which game it was. It was either Kentucky or Missouri. I know Garantano was the quarterback, and the receivers were Juwan Jennings, Marquez Callaway, and Josh Palmer. So been a minute since that's been accomplished, but Tennessee was able to do that tonight. 4 catches, 138 yards, and a touchdown for Chris Breisel, including one very early in the game. Mike Matthews, 6 catches, 107 yards, and a touchdown. That was a big one early on in the second half by him. And then Braylon Staley had the 56-yard catch, I believe sometime in the third quarter, but finishes the game with 6 catches, 105 yards. Of course, the last catch got him over that 100 mark. He was sitting at 99. It's as if Heupel knew that. Maybe someone checked Twitter and told him, hey, he just needs one more reception to get over 100 yards. But overall, those guys do well. Ethan Davis also a touchdown catch, and I will reference that later on because that was a very important development for Tennessee in this game. One of the few positive things, a handful of positive things that I took away from Tennessee in this game. So you did a good job in the passing game. I think that needs to be commended. Running the football was okay. You go for 108 yards on the ground, which is not much of an output, if we're being completely honest. I just didn't feel like they were able to turn it on early in the game. They got it going later on in the game. That's for sure. I felt like it was one of those things where they had a hot hand and they didn't always ride the hot hand. Like Star Thomas, I felt like when he was getting in there, he had nice games. Of course, he had the 17-yard gain at the beginning of the game, and then of course finished that drive with a touchdown as well. And then your other running backs score touchdowns in this game as well. So it's not as if Tennessee didn't do anything on the ground, but just not as good of a game as what we're accustomed to seeing from Tennessee in that regard.
Yeah, as far as the running backs go, I mean, I feel like it was just Tennessee's game plan going into this week just to air out the ball a little bit more. And I mean, wow, I mean, they did a great job with that. I mean, I was seeing a graphic on ESPN at one point that Aguilar was 6 for 6, 274, 2 touchdown passes on plays that went 20 yards or more, and then he was 5 for 5 on 35 yards for more. So I mean, that's something Tennessee hasn't seen. I mean, throwing deep passes. I mean, the last time Tennessee's been consistent with that was Hendon Hooker. And even then, I feel like Joey Aguilar is, I don't know, pretty impressive throwing down there deep. But yeah, the running game, I mean, I just feel like Tennessee just didn't feel like they needed to rely on it as much. And I like that Chris Brazzell finally started to step up a little bit after having a couple of down games, or especially a couple weeks ago, where Arkansas like shut him down. But yeah, like 3 receivers, 100 yards. I mean, I didn't even know in 2019 Tennessee did that.
Yeah.
I would have guessed it would have been a lot longer than that. So I mean, offense is pretty good out there. Offensive line portion, about standard, what you'd see from a game. Only allowed 3 tackles for a loss, 1 sack. But yeah, I mean, I liked what I saw from Tennessee's offense from the most part, but I'm a little excited to go in on the defense at some point.
Yeah. Still have not scored less than 4 touchdowns against a Mark Stoops defense. I don't know how much longer Tennessee will get to do that. Just to be completely honest, that is the most Tennessee has scored in Lexington since Peyton Manning's final season on Rocky Top.
I have one thing to say about that because when I was taking my notes during the game, I said, "Man, this is like the poor man's version of that 1997 game,
Yeah.
where Tim Couch and Peyton Manning were just trading blows throughout the game." I mean, that's essentially what you saw with this. I mean, Boley was just unstoppable, and which is pretty crazy considering that he's a freshman 3-star quarterback that was a backup coming into the season. Not a great look, but I mean. Yeah, I mean, both quarterbacks did pretty well in the game, and I just thought it was funny, that little connection there with the 97 squad.
Yeah. So you just had big play after big play for Tennessee offensively in this game, and I feel like that's just going to have to be a recipe for Tennessee here going forward, just with what we know about the makeup of this team. And I'm glad that we are seeing some trust in Josh Heupel finally and Joey Aguilar, because I referenced the Ethan Davis touchdown earlier, and I think that was a play in this game that was very important for a number of reasons, because you're getting down into a tough situation in situational football. We've talked about it all year. Situational football has been poorly executed all season long by Tennessee in SEC games. The good news is this was not a close game, so you didn't have to worry about it in the second half. And then you have a chance to Kentucky had a chance to double dip on you if you don't score a touchdown there. Think about how differently we are discussing this game right now if that's the case, because you're up 28-14. You give up a touchdown on what was a very long drive by Kentucky. You got a minute 37 left on the clock. You got to try and get a score. And you're thinking maybe you can get into field goal range, do something like that, get out of half 31-21 at the very least, I think was the thought, at least watching that sequence. But no, you were able to string some plays together and get all the way down the field and score a touchdown. Of course, you had there's one long pass on that drive. Yes, it was to Staley, 24 yards. Got it into, I believe, first and goal, and then Ethan Davis had the touchdown catch there. So another guy that has not played much for Tennessee lately due to injury, so good to see him get back in the mix after missing some time. But yeah, that is one of the positive developments I take away from Tennessee in this game is that you were able to avoid a double dip from the other team, and you as a result you had a much more comfortable win.
Yeah, I think Tennessee played much better coming out of the second half than they did in the first. I mean, because I started getting concerned there at one point. I mean, I think Kentucky brought it back, yeah, or like 21-28 at one point.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh no, how is Tennessee going to do this after Alabama last week? It's like you got to learn your lesson and like regroup. But I mean, like Tennessee kept putting it on in the second half. And you mentioned Staley. I think this is like his fourth game in a row with at least 90 yards receiving, and that's saying a lot.
Right.
And that's saying a lot because all of the opponents have been SEC teams, and then on top of that too, he's the second or third receiver on the team. I mean, all the attention's been on Brazzell throughout the season, but Staley's quietly starting to catch up there a little bit, and it's pretty nice to see that Tennessee has three pretty good wide receivers. I mean, I would argue that Tennessee's got one of the best wide receiver cores in the country right now, and it's funny to mention that because that was one of the biggest concerns coming into the season because Tennessee got absolutely gutted. I mean, they lost Squirrel White, they lost Brew McCoy, they lost Dante Thornton. I mean, they lost a whole bunch of good receivers on the team. And then look what they do. They regroup, and then I mean, they're just tearing it up this year. I mean, you couldn't ask for better play from the receivers this season.
Yeah. So passing, very, very good for Tennessee tonight. This is something that we've been looking forward to seeing for a couple weeks from this team, and sure enough, you saw it from Joey Aguilar just really light up an opposing secondary. I think they were sandbagging a little bit, Kentucky, that is, about the state of their secondary. They were just like, yeah, it's going to be a tough week for us. They got some praise from the Kentucky's DB coach during the week. They were not very confident, I think, openly in media settings, and sure enough, it showed tonight. Not a good look for the Wildcats in that phase of the game. So Tennessee able to tear it up there, and then you do a little bit running the football as well, which is you'll hope for better outcomes later on this season than what Tennessee had running the ball, but you didn't need it as much in this game, I guess, is my point. And you were able to bleed clock late in the game too, and the 4-minute offense, which is good. You also won the penalty battle tonight, I guess you could say. Only 6 for 56 yards, which is not terrible for a Josh Heupel football team. Penalty on Kentucky, 8 for 73 yards, had a couple for 15 early in the game on Kentucky. So you held up there. How many pre-snap penalties were there? Like 1 or 2 on Tennessee at most? Not as many as last week. And it helps when you're in an environment where they're admittedly more interested in basketball season at this point. It's getting to be that time of year at Kentucky. They played an exhibition game and beat Purdue last night, if you're wondering what their thoughts are on the football season at the moment. But overall, those were things that Tennessee took care of in this game. Defensively, not a good night. Not a good night for Tennessee. As I mentioned earlier, Cutter Boley putting up once-in-a-generation numbers for a Kentucky quarterback in this game. Goes 26 of 35, 330 yards, 5 touchdowns. Did throw an interception, and that was a key play in the game as well. Good play by Idris Farouk there to not only bat that ball, but have the concentration to catch it and then run it back for a touchdown, which was an important tone setter early on in the game. It's funny because right after Tennessee went up 14, I guess it was one of the KSR guys tweeted it like they've never come back from a 14-point deficit against an FBS opponent under Mark Stoops. The only time they'd done it was against, I think, Eastern Kentucky, which was 10 years ago, which is kind of insane to think about, but it's the truth. It's just how Mark Stoops football is. It's not meant to come back from behind and beat a team like Tennessee who can outrun you in a shootout. But if they were playing a worse offense, I would have given them good odds of coming back and winning the game. Uh, they ran the ball for 146 tonight, which is not bad. It felt like they were able to break off some long runs in this game. Had a couple runs. The long run of the game for Dante Dowdell, 16 yards. Jason Patterson went for 17. Kendrick Law went for 13 on one of those jet motions that we were talking about earlier on in the week. So they were able to do some damage there. Tennessee did have some TFLs in this game, I believe 8. You had the sack by Dominic Bailey, and you had whatever that play was in the first quarter where they fumbled the football, recovered the football, ran behind the play. Boo Carter stripped it, and then Jaden Perlotti picked it up. I don't know what that play was, but hey, Tennessee will take it. They went up, I think, 28-7 after that. So good for Tennessee at that moment. Jaden Perlotti, by the way, is a guy that needs much more playing time than he's been getting this year. He's now got 3 fumble recoveries in as many games. Was not able to scoop this one up and score. He just fell on this one tonight, but honestly, that's fine. It is what it is. It's funny. They're talking about how Tennessee was down a couple linebackers tonight. Arion Carter obviously is a pretty substantial guy to be without. I'm curious to see what they would have done with him in this game as opposed to the performance they had tonight. And then they were like, oh, they're also without Ben Bolton tonight. And it's like, really, man? Really? Ben Bolton? He's that big of a loss for Tennessee in this linebacking core? No, that's not at all the case. But not a good night for Tennessee against the pass at all. As I mentioned, already mentioned, 330 pass yards for Cutter Boley in this game. 2 receivers, by the way, DJ Miller and Kendrick Law going for over 100 yards for Kentucky, which is not good at all for Tennessee. And we joked about it during the week. Kentucky's receivers had a combined 1 touchdown catch all season, and it was in garbage time. Guess what? They had 5 touchdown catches in this game. And I get it. Youth is a little bit of a problem for this team. And, Boo Carter, that whole thing, not getting focused in the offseason. Jalen McMurray's a 5th-year guy. Colton Hood's a dude that was mocked in several drafts to potentially go in the first round earlier in the season. Look, if Jermon McCoy and Ricky Gibson don't come back, I mean, I get it. It is tough to be in that situation. But let's just be honest. Kentucky has not been productive with that group all season long, and you let them have a generational output. The good news is you won by 22 points, but had this been a closer game, we would be, I think, a little bit more furious than we are right now with Tim Banks. Let's just call that like it is.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was a very telling performance by Tennessee's defense. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure when we were looking up Kentucky's receiving stats last week, I think that their leading receiver had like 200 yards, I think.
I think 199, and it was Law. He basically doubled his total tonight.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, like your leading receiver had like 200 yards, and you got 2 players going for 100 in this game. I mean, we weren't threatened by Kentucky's offense heading into this one yet. I mean, they still put up 34 points. They had, like you said, 5 touchdown catches in the game. It makes me wonder how much different Tennessee would have been this season if they didn't lose McCoy and Gibson. And not even just them either. I mean, like, so many injuries, like not season-ending injuries, but I mean, defensive tackles and defensive linemen getting shaken up every week. I mean, Eason went down again this during the game at one point too. Like, injuries, I think, has been the biggest issue with Tennessee's defense. And man, like, if you could go back in time and like not have Jermon McCoy go to that offseason workout, and just like if things could just be a little bit different. I mean, I think Tennessee possibly could be undefeated right now, but here Tennessee is with 2 losses. But on the bright side, they were saying on the broadcast that Tennessee has a 90% chance of making the playoffs if they win out. But that's going to be a big if. That's going to be a big if with the rest of the schedule. I mean, especially next week too. I mean, I don't think Tennessee fares well against their next upcoming opponents. So I mean, hopefully some magic can happen, but I mean, Tennessee still controls their own destiny at this point. And I will say it's a good thing to see them be able to pass downfield, even if the defense is playing terribly. At least you know Tennessee's going to go out swinging and throw the ball downfield. So maybe they can score more than they allow their defense to give up. I feel like that's Tennessee's hope for the rest of the season.
I would not trust this defense to slow down a less than 100% John Mateer. I don't know if he's still less than 100% right now, but he was up and down today against Ole Miss. I know they lost the game, but the Oklahoma's defense is going to be the toughest test this offense sees all season. I think Georgia's defense is weird. They're bad in spurts, and then they decide to be good for a couple possessions a game. Oklahoma, I think, is the toughest challenge Tennessee will see on the defensive end all season long. But this is not a game that I thought Tennessee was going to just get shredded on the defensive end like it did. Kentucky had over 100 more yards of offense in this game than Alabama did last week against Tennessee, which is just nuts, honestly. You shouldn't have that happen. 146 yards allowed on the ground is not terrible. You still allowed a few too many long runs for my liking, though, if I'm going to be completely honest. And the tackling technique. There's way too many plays where guys are getting bad angles, they're arm tackling, doing all that stuff. Again, Jordan, this is why I played Brentwood Blaze and you played Franklin Cowboys or whatever it was you played growing up. You had to learn how to tackle properly somewhere. I get it. They don't need to be teaching you how to do that in the collegiate level, but you should at least be practicing it in some form or fashion. Like, obviously, you don't want to get guys hurt in practice. That's obviously a priority, but tackling dummies exist, right?
Yeah. I mean, tackling dummies exist, and like I feel like the issue with some of the modern tackling that we see is just like some people like they want to make that hit stick. They want to make that good play. It's like, yes, you can lay out someone and make a big hit, and then you get that one highlight play, or you could get like 12 tackles in a game just because you wrap up. So what's better, one big hit on the highlight reel or a dominant performance where you get 12 tackles and like 3 for a loss? I will take that any day of the week over some highlight play. But yeah, I mean, like, I wonder if part of this has to do with Arian Carter being out. I mean, with him being the leader on the team, him being in the center of the field, which Tennessee was getting torched all game in the center of the field. And it wasn't just the runs that were big plays. I mean, the passes too. Like, I'm looking at the top 2 receivers, Law and Miller. I mean, Miller had a 56-yard catch. Law had a 71-yard catch. I mean, every time Kentucky was playing, it seemed like they were getting at least a couple 20-yard plays each and every drive. And that is not a good thing at all. And especially because I mentioned earlier, Cutter Boley was a backup coming into this game. He was a 3-star quarterback. I don't think anyone expected anything from him, yet he shreds Tennessee's defense. And I would go as far to say that even if John Mateer was only like 75% or 70%, I think a 70% John Mateer is better than a Cutter Boley. So Tennessee's going to have to get locked down and make some changes here, man, because it's going to be rough. Like, I don't think Tennessee fares well against Oklahoma outside of them having the better offensive line. That's the only really key I see there, because I think Oklahoma is going to be able to score a lot of points. Their defense, like you said, is going to be the toughest test of the season. Tennessee's going to have to find something. And giving up 330 yards to a quarterback that probably shouldn't have started at Kentucky in the first place, not a good look.
Yeah, so the touchdowns you referenced in the first quarter of the game with Miller and Law, the Law one was the screen pass where he just got a block and then suddenly nobody was there for Tennessee. I don't think anybody was really in position to make that tackle. I think that's just a good play by Kentucky there more than anything, just having guys in the right place. The one by Miller, the first one by Miller, I should say, that was Boo just getting burnt like toast. And again, it's the Boo Carter thing. It's like, if he had not gone out and hung out in California or did whatever it is he did in the off season and really focused and turned himself into a guy that is worthy of making the all SEC team this season, we wouldn't be having this discussion most likely. I mean, you'd still be looking at him as a redeeming quality of this defense at this point in time, but you're not. He's not making enough big plays consistently for this team to um to really warrant that status. And again, I still don't know if you can lock him into Knoxville for next season. I just don't know if you can keep him away from Coach Prime and Boulder. And it wasn't just him that was struggling tonight too. I know Andre Turntine had a couple bad angles as well at safety. There was another touchdown, I believe it was given up by or Miller scored it in this game. It was Farouk who was on him. I just think I'd have to go back and look and see what exactly happened, but I think Farouk was there and Miller caught the ball, but he could have easily, he was in midair. So like Farouk could have at least forced him out of bounds, but like there was a bad angle there or something. He didn't go up high enough on the play and he got a foot down in bounds and Kentucky scored off of it. I think that's what happened. I have to go.
Was that the one in the corner of the end zone?
Yeah, it was in the corner of the end zone.
Yeah.
It was on the, I guess, left side of the field. So there's just little things like that Tennessee's got to be better at too on the defensive end. But all in all, a little bit of a frustrating night there. Only getting one sack on the quarterback too, I think is not ideal for this team. But again, there's a couple of positives. Obviously, you get a couple takeaways and you score on one of them. And for the first time in a while, Tennessee capitalized off of one of those turnovers with a touchdown as well. The Perlotti fumble resulted in a rush touchdown by, I believe, Deshaun Bishop in the second quarter near the beginning of it because Joey was going to score but let his knee go down a yard too early. But, so they've been able to do that at least. But I just don't know what kind of faith you can have in that group going forward, given everything we've seen this year, because this was supposed to be the worst Power 4 offense Tennessee saw all season, yet you gave up 34 points and almost 500 yards of offense to it. And you look ahead and who's to say that Oklahoma won't do something similar next week? DJ Lagway can turn it on. Vanderbilt, it's a little bit different, but they can control the game as well. So I don't have a ton of optimism there. I think Tennessee's really going to have to look within after this season and figure out what's going on and diagnose some things, because this is just not a problem you should be having in year 5.
Yeah, no, especially since considering like how bad Kentucky's offense has been this season. And then Tennessee gave up a lot of passing yards to UAB earlier in the year too. I mean, this has been a consistent problem through and through. And I mean, if we had to take one bright spot from Tennessee's defense, I mean, I know the defensive line hasn't lived up to the standard that they've had all season, but I mean, Tennessee scored what, like their 5th defensive touchdown, I think, of the season.
Yeah.
So Tennessee's been generating some turnovers. I know they haven't capitalized on all of them, but I mean, these defensive touchdowns and the pass rush by the defense is the only thing keeping Tennessee from getting any kind of stops, honestly. I mean, that's just how bad the secondary's been playing, how bad the tackling issues have been. But if Tennessee can keep scoring a lot of points and they can at least get one defensive touchdown, maybe that's enough. Maybe that's enough for some of these teams. But I mean, you're just wishing and hoping that things are going to go your way at that point.
You can't bank on defensive touchdowns. Why do you think South Carolina's 3-5 right now? They were scoring so many defensive touchdowns early on in the season, it was inflating their numbers, and then they got they got to playing actual competition, and then they realized, oh, our offense is actually not that special. The good news is Tennessee doesn't have that problem on offense, but I would even say the pass rush was subpar tonight. I did not think it was very good against an offensive line that you would have hoped it would have been able to get home against, but it just didn't. I know they had one holding call sometime in the second half. I forget who it was called on. I know Moy was the one that was getting held. And there was a play, too, at one point, maybe in the second quarter, where Josh Josephs had a free lane at Cutter Boley, and then he just froze for a split second. And then Kentucky converted the third down on a long pass play. Like, what? Why are you stopping there? Your instinct should tell you to hit the quarterback. You're an all SEC guy. Go do what all SEC guys do and hit quarterbacks and raise your stock at the next level with that big hit. So, I'm a little frustrated by what I saw from those guys tonight, too, compared to what we're used to seeing. I know the 8 TFLs is not bad, but, man, you'd like to see them get more pressure on Cutter Boley than they did tonight. I have to say that's part of the problem, too, not just the secondary.
Yeah, I mean, it is truly disappointing because, I mean, I think Tennessee was second behind Oklahoma in sacks, and not just in the SEC, but in the nation. And then, like, Tennessee only gets one sack in this game. It's just not a good look, especially when that's the only thing that Tennessee really has. That's really the only good thing they have going on defense is the defensive line. But I mean, I don't think this will be a trend moving forward. Hopefully not, because if it is, Tennessee's going to be in huge trouble. But let me ask you this, Tucker. What were your thoughts about Josh Heupel keeping Aguilar in for the remainder of the game?
So that was something Jordan Rodgers and Tom Hart were questioning all game. Why are you keeping Joey Aguilar in with 8 minutes to go in what appears to be a blowout game? And I felt like there was an obvious answer as to why. And it's because Josh Heupel is not trusting his defense, because the defense has not given him much reason to trust it in SEC play, outside of the fact that you've scored a couple defensive touchdowns here and there, and occasionally your pass rush is getting home. The pass rush, as we mentioned just a few minutes ago, was not getting home tonight. You're giving up a couple chunk run plays here and there, and your secondary has been Swiss cheese for most of the game. So honestly, I'm fine with him keeping him in there, because you know you're going to have to win games by scoring more points than you did a season ago. It's a different football team. It came out looking like opposite day this year, and it's remained the case all season long. You know, you thought you were going to have a solid defense this year, and we would just wait and see where the offense was. The offense is akin to what it was it's close to what it was in 2022. I don't know if it's quite that productive, but 2021 for sure, every bit as good. And I think, and I tweeted it during the game, but I think the reality with this team is your best defense is your great offense. And I think that's why they kept Joey Aguilar in the game, just because you don't have a reason to trust in that defense right now. So why take him out?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't even consider the defense aspect of it. I mean, it would make sense. I mean, 'cause Tennessee's defense been so bad, I wouldn't blame Josh Heupel for not trusting the team to be able to make stops, and it probably was a good thing in that sense to keep Joey Aguilar in. But my thoughts on the situation was, I mean, if you look at how Tennessee's opponents have been performing this season, I mean, I know Georgia's still been doing good for the most part. Alabama's a hot team right now, but pretty much every other opponent Tennessee's played this year has had some struggles. I mean, Syracuse has been having a rough time right now. I think Arkansas, they lost today, right? Like, I know Mississippi State did. I mean, like,
both of those were horrible implosions.
I mean, Tennessee doesn't really have that great of a win right now. So, I mean, if you're going to want to go to the playoffs, I mean, I feel like you're going to have to run up the score on some of these teams. And then also too, I mean, I feel like Josh Heupel is he's a player's coach. So, I mean, I almost wonder, if he's just trying to give Joey Aguilar a little bit more love, try to see if he can get into some Heisman conversation. But that's just a theory of mine there. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, I don't know how many coaches are trying to win their players Heismans as opposed to winning games. But I mean, I think Joey Aguilar's got to be at least like inching towards like the Heisman conversation now, especially after this performance. But I mean, Tennessee's going to still have to win games. We don't see many Heisman Trophy winners with 4 or 5 losses for the season, and that's something that Tennessee could face.
Yeah, who was the last one? Maybe RG3.
And then Lamar Jackson, I know that he lost, I think,
there were at least 2 or 3 games that he lost that year because they lost to, I think, Clemson. I know they lost to Houston that year. And oddly enough, I think Kentucky walked them off on a field goal. So they lost at least 3 games that year. And I know they lost their bowl game to Ed Orgeron LSU in 2016 in the Citrus Bowl that year. Yeah, it was like 29-9 as a beatdown. So I don't know if you're in that conversation right now. I don't really know who is in the Heisman conversation at the moment, just to be completely real, other than Ty Simpson, maybe. Marcel Reed, potentially. I don't know. So I don't know if he's creeping back into that conversation or if he ever even was in that conversation to begin with. But no, overall, good game for him. I don't think this is a stat padding move by Josh Heupel. I think this is genuinely what I thought. You don't trust your defense, so you keep your quarterback out there because he is your best defense in this game. So I don't want to look around too much at what went on this week, just because you've still got to win and keep winning football games in order to get into the college football playoff. But do want to say that next week is a night game that was announced on the Vol Network late in the game. That is officially kicking off at 7:30 Eastern time at Neyland Stadium. Glad they made that happen, because if not, Tennessee would not have had a night game in Neyland Stadium this year, which would have been criminal activity by the SEC offices in Birmingham. We will file complaints for that if you were to do that. But no, they let us have a night game in Neyland Stadium, which is good. And this will very much be a playoff elimination game too. So the very, very important game. You would assume dark mode could be involved, especially with the proximity to Halloween, just 24 hours after. So you're setting up for what will be a fun weekend in Neyland Stadium next week. I'm curious to see what happens in that game. But you got to keep winning, because the playoff picture is not looking great for you right now in the SEC at the moment. There's 3 or 4 teams that I think, or maybe even 5 teams, that I would say have better odds than you at the moment. And then nationally, you've got a handful in the Big Ten that are looking really, really, really nice. And then, of course, you got your auto bids as well coming out of the other Power 4 conferences with the ACC and Big 12. We'll see what happens with Group of 5. I don't know who will come out of there. I know there's a pretty major domino that fell today with USF losing to Memphis. Elsewhere, trying to think. I guess Navy's still unbeaten. I forget if they played anybody today, but I'll pull that up right now and tell you guys if they played anybody. Okay, so they did beat Florida Atlantic. They're unbeaten. So that is, by default, your best team in Group of 5 right now. So, again, your best interest is to keep winning football games if you want into the college football playoff. You need some help, too. I'm just going to be completely honest, because there are 5 teams right now that I would say have very good odds of getting into the college football playoff from the SEC that are not Tennessee.
Yeah, and another thing, too, is not only are Tennessee's upcoming opponents like really talented teams, but Tennessee has 2 teams on the schedule that control their destiny too. I mean, next week with Oklahoma, I mean, if Oklahoma loses that game, their playoff chances are over with, and they might already be over with as it is. So Oklahoma's going to come out swinging, and then Vanderbilt. I mean, they've only had one loss of the year, and Vanderbilt's had the momentum rolling this entire season. I mean, they're going to try to make history and try to make it to the playoffs. So, they're going to play their best game of the season too against Tennessee, or at least that's what I think is going to happen. So, I mean, it's going to be a tough road. I mean, just because you're going to have teams that are clawing and fighting, and even Florida too. I mean, their season's over with. They lost their head coach and everything like that. They have absolutely nothing to lose. And as critical as I am on DJ Lagway, he's still got all the talent in the world. And with how bad Tennessee's defense is, I mean, he could become a problem for Tennessee's defense, even if he does throw a litany of interceptions. I mean, all he needs is a couple of completed deep passes, and then Tennessee could be in some trouble.
Yeah, you got a good running back down there too, and Jaden Baugh, who can cause you some problems. And they've got some good wide receivers as well, Dallas Wilson, Eugene Wilson. So both of them look very, very good for Florida right now. So, but overall, I mean, I would say Oklahoma's odds are not quite as good as Tennessee's at the moment, just because even if, well, obviously if Tennessee wins, that would kill their season. But even if they get through Tennessee next week, they still got to go to Alabama, who's riding the hot hand right now. You have Missouri at home, and then you have LSU at home. You figure they'd probably beat both Mizzou and LSU later on in the season, but I don't know. I look at the road games. It's still very tough for Oklahoma. They're going to have to do some things to try and get in. And, the crazy thing is I think of the two teams that Tennessee plays left on the schedule that are potentially college football playoff bound, if enough things were to go according to plan, I think Vanderbilt is most likely to get in just because they only have the one loss to this point in Alabama. And you look at the other three games they play that aren't Tennessee this season, they are at Texas, which is not going to be easy, but Texas is a very fraudulent football team this season. I feel like I know they got away with a win today, but that's the key word. They got away with one. They probably should have lost that game. State led by as much as 17 in that game and managed to give it away. And then you look at their home games. I mean, they're against Auburn and Kentucky, who are two of the 3 or 4 worst teams in the league. So if Tennessee is not playing for a college football playoff appearance at that point, they will at the very least be playing spoiler for Vanderbilt, which is just an insane thing to say about the college football playoff race, but it's true. That will be the case.
Honestly, Vanderbilt's climbed up my radar again, and it kind of feels nice because I haven't had this hatred for Vanderbilt since James Franklin has been there. And man, like even if Tennessee doesn't go to the playoffs and it's going to be a tough road, say Tennessee loses to Oklahoma and it's completely out the window at that point, wouldn't it still be nice just to ruin everything for Vanderbilt? That would be so nice for me, especially because a lot of the times, from what I've noticed from Vanderbilt is no one's a Vanderbilt fan until they start winning. And then they can't shut up. They just talk and talk and talk. And it would be nice to hear them all silence and Tennessee to be the one to do so, especially because Vanderbilt's ended Tennessee's seasons in the past. So it would be nice to do them dirty for a game.
Yeah, it would be nice in that part because we haven't seen Tennessee spoil much for Vanderbilt lately in any sport, mainly because Vanderbilt's just not good enough.
There's nothing to spoil.
Other than baseball seasons. I know Tennessee did sweep them a couple years ago after they had come in hot to start SEC play, but
well, they spoiled a couple of 3-win seasons. I mean, Vanderbilt could have had 3 wins a couple of years if it wasn't for Tennessee.
Oh yes, 3-9 seasons. That's exactly what Tennessee spoiled. By the way, we should do this. I know we're a football show here, but do want to congratulate Josh Elander on being named the next Tennessee baseball coach. That's a very tough situation that Tennessee got put in with Tony Vitello taking a job that and making a leap that was just unheard of to this point, going from college to MLB is just an insane jump that you don't see many coaches jump from college to pro across many of the professional sports, certainly not baseball. But this is a guy that I think is very deserving of it, and he and Frank Anderson will be able to hold together this recruiting class at the very least. And I think both of those guys are big parts of the reason why Tennessee is where it is right now as a baseball program. So did want to put that out there as well, because I know this is, been a little bit of a hard week for some of us. I know our focus hasn't been on this Kentucky game for a lot of the week because of that situation. But again, congratulations to Josh Elander. He's very deserving of the job, has full support of the players, and I'm sure Tennessee will at least be about where it is right now in baseball as a result, just because you've kept all this talent in your recruiting class by promoting Elander. And this is a guy that was thrown around for other head coaching vacancies, like Mississippi State was in the Elander sweepstakes in the offseason. Kind of makes you glad he didn't leave for that very reason. So I've said it once, I'll say it again. Congrats to Josh Elander for getting that job.
Yeah, and like as most of the listeners probably have gathered at this point, like I don't really keep up with baseball. When I saw that Vitello was leaving for the Giants, he was like the second coach in like I think like modern history or something like that to go from college to MLB. How in the world do you become an MLB head coach then if you're not coming from college? Like, do you just go straight to the minors or something? Because when I saw that stat, I was kind of dumbfounded. But then again, I'm not a baseball guy, so I was like, how in the world do you become a manager in the MLB?
Yeah, you just have that kind of infectious energy about you. It'll be fun to see him get with Drew Gilbert again. I think Tony, he's a little sad to be leaving Knoxville. I think that's for sure, but we'll look back on his time here fondly. There's no doubt about that. And he said jokingly in the statement that he released, I know I did something that was very selfish. Please don't look at me like Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
You won a national title. We won't look at you like you were Lane Kiffin. This program was not a thing before you were around. Honestly, I mean, Todd Helton and Chris Burke existed. They were good in the Rod Del Monaco years, but they never reached this kind of success. So, again, the majority of Tennessee fans did not know what Tennessee baseball was before the year 2021. And we have Tony Vitello to thank for that, and it's why we will continue to care about it afterwards. So, again, just wanted to say that. Wanted to discuss Josh Elander on the show because it's an important happening in the world of Tennessee athletics. And I think, too, basketball season is right around the corner. There is an exhibition game tomorrow against Duke in Thompson Bowling Arena at Food City Center. That will be a fun game to watch. You can catch it on ESPN2. I believe it is at 6 Central Time. So that should be fun to watch tomorrow. Don't overreact, by the way. It's an exhibition. So just know that if you're going to watch it. I know some of you will overreact regardless because that's just what Vol Nation does.
100%. That's what we're best at.
All right, Jordan. So as we close up shop here, just some final thoughts about the game tonight. And I'm sure we're going to discuss these again on Monday, but what if you had to have any major takeaways from this game, what are they?
I love the efficiency from Joey Aguilar, as we've mentioned throughout the whole show. Like, I thought that he played phenomenally well. I thought that he was the biggest difference maker in Tennessee winning this game. Of course, like, with that being said, the wide receivers too, that was a big takeaway for me. Like, it's nice to see the receivers share the wealth there. Like, so that Tennessee doesn't just have to target Brazzell the whole game. I mean, they got options out here, which is going to give defenses some problems moving forward. Also, like you mentioned him earlier, Perlotti, like he had the fumble recovery and everything like that. I haven't heard too much about him. Honestly, wasn't as familiar with his game, but I noticed him a lot. Even if he wasn't making tackles the whole game, I noticed him on the field a lot. And I mean, he had that big hit in the center of the field. I think that he's got a promising future for Tennessee. So I'm excited to see how he performs in the upcoming years and for the rest of the season. And that's probably my biggest takeaways from the game. I mean, besides the defense being atrocious, but we say that every week.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a common thread, and we're not proud of it here, but that has unfortunately been the case for Tennessee this year. I'm with you on the passing game. I liked what we saw tonight. Really, really opened things up for the first time this year. And you saw glimpses of it in games like Syracuse early on this season. Of course, the Georgia game, you had some big plays that you hit on as well. But this is the first time I really feel like Tennessee was just truly able to carve a team up through the air, and not just have it come and go in spurts like what you saw against Georgia. So good for Tennessee to be able to do that. I'm glad that Tennessee did that, and as a way to win this game. Again, would like to see Tennessee be a little bit more productive on the ground. I guess I do need to probably look and see what the run to pass breakdown was in this game. If I can pull that up here, that would be okay. So 33 rush attempts to 26 pass attempts. 24 rush attempts for Star Thomas and Deshaun Bishop. They go for a combined 112, and that's not factoring in sack yardage that Joey Aguilar lost. So I think they'll be able to get back to running the football well soon. It's just you were able to throw the ball well tonight. I think that's an important takeaway for me in this game for Tennessee. Defensively, you got to work on the little things. You got to get better at tackling. I don't like saying that each week, but you got to get better at tackling. And then you've got the scheme too, man. Why are you giving receivers an extra 5 yards on third down with your coverage? I don't get that. That's like giving up a free first down on a third and medium. So don't like that at all. But it is capable of making big plays. We saw the 2 turnovers in this game, one of which was for a touchdown. And I think that is at least one good sign of this defense. Again, you can't bank on it every single week, but that's a good sign, a potential step in the right direction. And the only other things I've got for this game is you righted some wrongs with the situational football because it was bad through each of the first 4 SEC games. You got in a 2-minute drill to end the second quarter, and you executed it perfectly. Didn't leave much time on the clock. And I think that's one thing Josh Heupel thinks about a little bit with these 2-minute drills is leaving too much time on the clock. Like, for example, last week, I guess that's why they ran the play that they did at the goal line that ended up being a pick six there late in the half. Maybe. I don't really understand that logic, but it is what it is. It's gone now. We can't change the past. But you were able to do it well tonight, so that's what matters. And the other thing I had too is you finally capitalized off a turnover that was not run back for a touchdown for the first time in a little while. I guess they did it against who was that? Arkansas a few weeks ago, but there were 2 other fumble recoveries in that game that they did not capitalize off of at all. In fact, I think they went 3 and out on both of those. So that's not exactly been a strength for Tennessee this year, but you were able to do it tonight, which is a good thing. All right, Jordan, anything else that we missed from this game?
Not really from this game, but I just had an idea about fixing Tennessee's tackling issues because I remember when Lane Kiffin was the head coach, I remembered hearing that he had like the running backs walk to class with a football and like he would have like players test them. I'm pretty sure from what I remember, he'd have players like come up and test them and try to knock the football out of the running back's hands while they were like going to class. So maybe Tennessee should take a page out of old Lane Kiffin's book and have their defensive players carry their backpacks forward so they can learn to wrap up and just go to class. You can't wear your backpack on your back until you start wrapping up and making tackles in the game. And if you get caught wearing your backpack on your back, then you have to run sprints at practice. There's the solution right there.
Ooh, can Tim Banks take a page out of Lane Kiffin's book? He might need it, man. Obviously, Josh Heupel has never fired an assistant to this point. I'm not saying he will this offseason, but that has been a real problem for Tennessee this year. And it's a couple different things. Obviously, it's the youth on the defense in certain areas, especially in the secondary. Some of it is scheme. But then, as we mentioned, we saw it last week. We saw it again tonight. This team doesn't tackle very well. And I'm glad you bring that up. It's somewhat of a tangible fix. You get in that habit, and let's say you drop your backpack, but then you at least learn how to get
catch it and you wrap up. You lose control.
You catch it and you wrap up.
Yeah,
exactly. That's something they should probably try and do. I think that would be fun. All right, well, that's about all I have for tonight on the games. A fairly pleasant win for Tennessee, other than the defense, as we have harped on time and time again, both on this show and in weeks past. But glad all of you guys could join us tonight here on the Tennessee Postgame Show here on the Voice of College Football Network. We appreciate it each and every week. If you like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe to Tennessee at the Voice of College Football. Again, we are live every Monday at 8 Eastern time. We're probably going to pivot here in a couple weeks just for kind of a one-off thing. I know all of you guys, at least most of you guys, like watching Tennessee basketball. That starts here in about a week and a half, and you guys will probably want to do that instead of watching us, and that's fine. So we're probably going to move the show to Tuesday for that reason. So no, we love all the sports here too. We don't just love football, but we do love football the most. We will call it like that. Josh Mahler of our Oklahoma channel will be with us on Monday to discuss all things Tennessee and Oklahoma, what the Sooners have done to this point in the year, their complex relationship with Josh Heupel, their quarterbacks' health and well-being, that very good defense that they have. You'll get to hear about it all with Josh Mahler next week here on the channel. I guess that's in roughly, not even 48 hours now. But we'll talk about it then. So until then, for Jordan Binkley, I am Tucker Harlan. We will talk to you guys again on Monday.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select a betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.